we're going to talk about Texas really quick because I've done a lot of stories about the rise of Christian nationalism and what that means when it comes to shoving Christianity into public schools. And sometimes that means using the Bible in history classes. That's what they're doing in Oklahoma right now. Sometimes that's putting the 10 Commandments up in every classroom. Louisiana passed a law to do that. A judge shut it down, but plenty of states are trying it. Making religious invocations part of school board meetings. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Allowing students to skip class so they can get religious indoctrination off campus. Ohio has been a leader in that. And other schools are doing that with LifeWise. And I even did a story a couple weeks ago about a Mormon seminary that was built on the campus of a public school until the outcry got so loud that they decided not to go through with that. So some of those are more insidious than others. Some of those have been shot down by judges, but the hits keep coming. The point is, right now, with Republican judges, Republican Supreme Court, Republican lawmakers with trifectas in a lot of states, you can do a lot of damage, and you could do a lot toward trying to shove your religion into the law and make Christianity the default. And this is one I had not seen until now. There is a law that was just passed by the Texas State Senate. There was a bill passed by the Texas State Senate. It passed on a 22-9 vote, and it's now in the state house. But I want to show you this bill. Check this out right here. It's one page, pretty much. Yeah, it's just one page. Senate Bill 2617, and I'm going to go to the underlined part because that's the only part that matters. Expression of dates. The Board of Trustees of a school district or the governing body of an open enrollment charter school shall, that means they have to, adopt and implement a policy requiring the use of Anno Domini AD and before Christ BC when expressing dates during student instruction. This bill would force schools to use BC, before Christ, when talking about like the ancient Egyptians or what happened a few thousand years ago. You have to use before Christ or else. And then look at B. A school district or any of these charter schools may not purchase or select curriculum materials for the district's or school's curriculum if those materials have dates that say Common Era and before Common Era, CE or BCE, which is what historians use and academics use. So if you have any textbook that says, in 300 BCE, something happened, Socrates did this, you can't even purchase the textbook anymore. They are forcing you to use before Christ as a default setting for what happened before the year 1. And then you got to use AD. Now, why do they use, I know for some people, they're going to hear this and say, what's the big deal? I use BC, I use AD all the time. And you know what? I do too. If I saw that in a story, I honestly wouldn't think twice about it. But the reason historians and academics use CE, Common Era, and BCE, before Common Era, is basically because they know, hey, the entire world doesn't base its calendar on the supposed birth of Christ. So even though everyone kind of says, oh, it's the year 2025, well, what is that 2025 years after, right? So it's, instead of changing the whole calendar, let's just change the way we frame it. It's Common Era, before Common Era. It's inclusive of all people. It's not a pro-Christian thing. It's just a neutral way of saying dates. It's pretty harmless. And Texas is like, how dare you try to be neutral when we here in Texas are a Christian state? So it's petty. It's a stupid bill. And also, again, it's one thing to just say you got to use AD and BC. But the second clause there where they're like, you can't buy textbooks or materials that say otherwise. I pulled up a summary of the advanced placement curriculum. And they're considering offering an AP World History Ancient. They already offer an advanced placement course called World History Modern World History. That's like from 1200 onward, 1200 CE onward. but they're considering offering a class on ancient world history. But I just want to show you like this first paragraph here. If they get enough support for this course, they would be committing to offering a new AP World History class from ancient, World History Ancient, from about 8,000 BCE to the year 1450 CE, in addition to AP World History Modern, which is from 1200 CE to present. And the only reason I bring this up is the advanced placement curriculum, which those are classes students can take if they want to get college credit in high school and maybe not have to pay that much for tuition when they're in college. Those classes use BCE and CE. And the question that I haven't found an answer to is, if they pass this bill in Texas, does that mean they can't buy any textbooks that would be used for the AP curriculum? Or would Texas demand that the publishers who write those AP textbooks make a special Texas dumbass version that only uses the Christian labeling instead, or else we're not going to do it? I haven't heard that answer yet. I also have not heard from any of these politicians what's the penalty if a teacher uses CE and BCE, even if this becomes a law, because there's no penalty mentioned in that really quick bill. So they haven't really thought this through. They're just trying to shove Christianity anywhere they can, and they decided this was a way to do it, because apparently they believe the birth of Christ is the default setting for human history everywhere in the world. And the bill's sponsor, it's this dude right here. Brandon Creighton is the Texas senator who's sponsoring this bill. When he was asked about this, I want to show you what he said to people. He acted like BCE and CE was a liberal conspiracy. By putting this into law, the Senate bill protects Texas's long-standing approach to teaching history clearly, consistently, and without political distortion, giving parents, teachers, and students confidence in a consistent foundation for learning. Apparently, using CE and BCE is political distortion, but using before Christ, no, that's neutral. Everyone's good with that. These are the same people who are like, Christmas has to be a national holiday, and if you dare say happy holidays, that is liberal bias. Merry Christmas is the default for everybody. Got that, Jews? Got that, Muslims? But if you say happy holidays, that is some sort of democratic George Soros conspiracy or something. So this idiot is like, yeah, if you use CE and BC, it's political distortion, but we got to use BC because, you know, Jesus. Everyone loves Jesus, right? That's seriously his argument for why he wants this bill. I've said this before, but this just shows you that conservative Christians always treat neutrality as oppression. This is a perfect example. When it comes to religion, neutrality is oppression for them. A secular demarcation of history is apparently distortion, while a Bible-based one is teaching history clearly. I don't know. By the way, I was a little surprised to see this, that a few years ago, the Texas State Board of Education actually considered going away from BC and AD and just encouraging people to use CE and BCE. But that Board of Education ultimately did not adopt the policy, which members considered among broader revisions to the social studies standards. They decided to push that discussion to this year. But if this bill passes, then that discussion becomes moot. Because if the law says you got to use BC and AD, you don't even get the option of using CE and BCE. But by the way, they considered that a few years ago. The Texas State Board of Education, which has always been conservative and famously made news for trying to shove creationism into science textbooks, they're more conservative today than they were 3 years ago. So there's no way they were even going to do that. But I guess this lawmaker's like, oh shit, they're going to discuss this soon. Might as well pass a law to force Jesus upon everybody instead. Like, I don't know. What problem was BCE causing these people? I have no idea. Who was taking a history class? I thought that if Christians were taking a history class, they would be more offended by the very sentence, something happened in like 6,000 BCE, because they're like, what, 6,000 BCE? That didn't exist. Time in the Bible started at like 4,000 BC. That's what Ken Ham told me. I would have thought the fact that they even acknowledged there was a time before Christ would be way more offensive than the designation they use, but what do I know? So anyway, these lawmakers think the word BCE, or the abbreviation BCE, is erasing their religious history because they're constantly surrounded by persecution in a state entirely dominated by conservative Christians. In case you're wondering, Brandon Creighton, the sponsor of this bill, he has defended Confederate monuments. He opposes LGBTQ rights. He wants to make it harder for women to access health care. He also backed a voucher program that will take taxpayer dollars out of public schools and send them to private religious schools instead. So this guy's not a fan of public education, period. And now he figured out a new way to make everything even worse. So anyway, as I said, this passed the state Senate. It is now sitting in the State House Committee on Public Education. And I know I am as surprised as you that the Texas State House has a committee on public education, but the only silver lining maybe is that there are only 2 weeks left in the legislative session. And I assume that in Texas, they are really interested in making sure they can hurt as many people as possible. And the body count for a bill like this isn't very high. So it's like, what should we go after? Poor people who need health care? They would rather take health care away from those people and take money out of the public school system. That is a priority for them more so than trying to take away BCE from history students reading a book. So maybe they don't get around to this. But if they do, you can fully expect Republicans will get on board with this and Greg Abbott will sign it. Just a horrible idea and a dumb idea, but just another way they're trying to do Christian nationalism in public schools around the country. All right, I will stop there with this story. What questions we have here? For fuck's sake, the Texas legislature needs to get a hobby. This stuff is a total waste of taxpayer money. This is their hobby. Their hobby is shoving Jesus into the law and hurting as many people as humanly possible. That is what they get off on. That is what brings the smiles to their faces. It's just, how much damage can we do? We're the Republican Party. And it's just a arms race to see which lawmaker can do more to hurt the groups they don't feel deserve anything. That's how the Republican Party works. And Texas is just run by Republicans. So this is the game they keep playing. Unless people stop voting for these idiots, it's going to keep happening. Jewish people use CE and BCE to avoid blaspheming by validating Jesus as God. That is a very interesting point, that even mentioning God is something you don't do if you're Jewish, like writing that name on paper or anything like that. But yeah, this would be especially problematic for people who are Jewish or Hindu or atheist and who don't acknowledge that Jesus was special in any way, even if they grant that Jesus was alive. I don't know. They don't care, though. They don't care about Jewish people. They're Republicans. They care about Israel. They don't care about Jewish people. Let's change it to PC post-COVID. It is now year 5. Oh, man. I mean, listen, I demarcate my life that way in many ways, but also in a lot of ways, it's not year 5. We are still in COVID. We're still feeling the effects of COVID because of the way policies are going in a lot of ways. But I like that idea. Are they trying to dumb down the next generation? Yeah, man, the Republican Party needs their base. They're trying to make them not have to go to college because those colleges are like, we can't take a kid from Texas. They don't know enough. This would fuck up Texas students' chances of getting into college even more than the public schools already do. I mean, I will say, I don't think this would hurt them as much as, say, Oklahoma putting fake history in their social studies standards, or like some states that are like, let's not teach evolution correctly. Let's teach intelligent design. Yeah, then colleges may have a legit reason not to accept those students in those degree programs because you don't have the baseline knowledge you need. This one is just stupid. This is just like, what's going to happen when these kids read a book or go to college and they come across CE and BCE? Like, what's going to go through their minds? Like, what is this blasphemy? Oh my God, common era. What does that even mean? Like, they'll figure it out. It's just a petty thing to do. I don't even know if this is going to lead to a lawsuit or anything, maybe from Jewish people or something, but like, it's dumb. It just sounds like a sneaky way to kill advanced placement classes in high school, another assault on education through religiosity. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. I think parents would be in an uproar if they basically got rid of those AP history classes because of this. But I assume, and I hope the College Board doesn't do this, but they would probably just cave in and just say, fine, we'll send you special Texas dumbass textbooks that say BC and AD. But also our test that we give to everyone in the nation is going to have CE and BCE, so get used to it. Kids will figure that out, but like, again, stupid, just stupid.